Greetings, radio audience. I'd like to thank each and every one for tuning in to the Yahweh Will broadcast. Thank you for your time, your ears, and the host for this broadcast will be Minister Derek Gooden.
Praise Father Yahweh to all that can hear the sound of my voice for the glorious opportunity to come to bring you, Father Yahweh, word once again. This is Yahweh's Will Ministry. I'm Minister Gooden. I'm thankful to be able to give you the bread that comes from our Father. Many may not understand the messages that come through this podcast because they deal with a lot of prophecies, current events, and I know through many religions things have been said that this broadcast will contradict, but you will see it for yourself that this broadcast does not lie. It ties in with today's activities by the scriptures to show you we're living in a serious time of demonicness, and Yahweh uses me to tell no lies. Father Yahweh is the self-created name of the eternal Father, self-created existence, almighty Yahweh Shema. Shema means I will help my people. Obedience that will cause us to be helped and receive favor. Today, one man sinned. One man sinned. Don't jump in front of me, podcast. Don't jump in front of me because it's not going the way you think it's going. So just let me set it up for you. Don't go thinking I'm talking about one particular person, no. We're going back to a time when people have forgotten through the deception of religion where the sin originated from. We're going back in past history to show where the sin originated so that why things are the way they are today. One man said, Podcast Nation in the world today, people are doing very evil, demonic, strange, unwise things. Things that make no sense. Tell lies and tell them with no remorse, with no sorrowfulness. What they call sweet lies. The enjoyment of telling the lies. Religions are lying more, deceiving more, because all of this is what you get ready to call the roundup time. The roundup time as we're living in the last days at this hour. So it's a nonsense of what is happening. Chaotic situations from one nation to another. This is the reason the Holy Scriptures were wrote the way they were wrote, because this sin goes all the way back into history. This sin goes all the way back into the createdness of man. When this sin was created, this sin came from disobedience. So it's been a spread from generation to generation. It's been a spread throughout all of history. So today, one man is not to be held accountable in Washington, D.C., but this is a sin that goes back to the Garden of Eden. It is nonsense. Because the minds are in a morbid state. Morbid of having or caused by a disease of unhealthiness. It is a morbidness from one man's sin. You're going to see how simple it was to obey. You're going to see how simple the word was given. But you're going to see how easy disobedience came. And you'll see for yourself it's the same today. You'll see for yourself it's the same today. Morbid means having or caused it by disease, unhealthy, diseased mind. Morbid, a disease in the mind. As disease is pressed against one's body, this is a disease of the mind. Morbid, resulting from whether form of a disease state, especially a showing an unwholesome tendency to dwell on gruesome or grooming matters. I don't debate with what the word says. I'm not wise enough to debate with what the word says. I don't debate with sin. I didn't debate with Satan. I didn't debate in doing wrong. I was a willing participant to do wrong and to live unrighteous. So why do I have to debate what is right? If I believe in the Almighty whom I say I trust and believe in, then what he says, he says. What he said do, I do. What he said don't do, I don't do. And anything comes short of that is sinning, and I must repent. Morbid is the gruesome, grisly, horrible ways people live and find no shame, none. And we've been covering these different wickednesses throughout this podcast. We've been covering these different levels of sin throughout this podcast. And you see it for yourself, nation, that people have no shame in the mannerism and the way they live, because this is where it started at. This is where it started at. We're going into the history of the law to show that Father Yahweh's word has not changed, and to show you that the lie of religion teaches that his laws are done away with. They're liars and impostors. First, the prophet Isaiah 58 and verse 1. Cry loud, spare not. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. Show my people their transgressions, and the house of Jacob their sins. Show the sins by my word. Call out the sins by my word. Establish righteousness to show that righteousness is the primary root in which all must live for Yahweh's salvation. Satan has no salvation. So sorry to tell you, my friends, serving the gods and the lords, that is all of the demonicness of Satan's desire. For as many calling on the gods and the lords, do you see any changes? Do you see any changes in this world? It's only getting worse and worse. Obedience and righteousness. Now let's show how the gods and the lords even came into existence. From the history, we're showing that there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing. What have happened in history is happening now. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9 and 10. Even that we think we can call new is not new. For it have been covered in the holy manuscript. It have been covered. Genesis chapter 2. And we're going to be gone at verses 7. I'm not carrying you fast. But we're going into the dialogue of history and the law. Genesis 2 and verse 7. Now Father Yahweh, the self-creator, whom many would despise to be his name, whom many would say is a made-up name, however your mind leads you, you do it. But is your mind convinced to live righteous or wicked? Do you have a debate in doing wrong, or do you have a debate in doing right? They'll let you know what state of mind you have. Whatever state you're comfortable with living, that shows you the direction of where your mind leads you. All right? Genesis 2 and verse 7. Yahweh formed a man of the dust of the ground, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. Let's pause here for one moment. Adam wasn't born to a mom and dad. Okay? Adam, first created man, was not born to a mama or a daddy. And Adam was created as a man, not a child. When Father Yahweh created Adam from the dust of the ground, he created him in adult male form. Adam was not created as a child. So he formed him from dust, because there was no mom and daddy to have him. Created by the power of Father Yahweh. Sculpted by Yahweh's hand. breath breathed into his nostrils by the power of Father Yahweh. Adam did not know what sin was. Adam was not confined to sin. Adam was not created by sin. Adam was created, as you would say in today's time, organic, soy, no contamination, the pure of purest. This is how Adam was constructed. Yahweh planted a garden eastward in Eden. There he put the man whom he had formed. Yahweh created the garden now. Adam, all he had to do was tend to what Yahweh created. Created by Yahweh, given a beautiful paradise job to tend to Yahweh's garden so that Adam would have his vegetated living for his days on this earth. And out of the ground, Yahweh made every tree grow that is pleasant to the sight, and the desired food that Adam needed. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil was in the midst of the garden. You hear a lot about the tree of life, but there was another very, very important tree there. The tree of knowledge of righteousness and evil. Righteousness and evil was in the midst of the garden as well. Adam is having class 101 with Father Yahweh. This is year 2025. We are all the way back around year 4004 BY, before Yeshua even came in flesh form. History will carry us back to around 4004 BY. Adam was created and in class, Podcast Nation. Hearing directly from the source. Directly from the mouth of Father Yahweh. Come on down to Genesis 2 and verse 15. Now, you're going to see something very significant here. Like I told you, I'm not going fast. I'm going to show you this very slow. Because who always listen to this podcast, I want you to understand how one man's sin have caused all of this chaotic controversy and demolished destruction throughout the world, okay? Genesis 2 and verse 15. Then Yahweh took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work and to care for it. That was mankind's first job. That was first created man's job by Yahweh, to care for the Garden of Eden. And Yahweh commanded the man, saying, of every tree in the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil you must not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Why would Yahweh tell Adam, I've given you all of this that you may have for your living pleasure. But Adam, do not eat from the tree of knowledge of righteousness and evil. It wasn't the righteousness that Yahweh didn't want Adam to have. It was the evil. Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil. For the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. Why would Yahweh tell this to Adam before he did it? Because it goes all the way back throughout the gospel, throughout the teaching of my Savior, Yeshua the Messiah, that Father Yahweh knows the thought of man before the action is carried out. Father Yahweh knew that man would defile him. Father Yahweh knew that man would disobey him. Father Yahweh knew man would turn from him to follow another created being, woman, And that's when the sin was reborn on the earth. Adam was told directly in advance, do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil. Because Father Yahweh created Adam sin-free, and he did not want him caught up, connected to evil. Evil was sin, and sin was led by Satan. And he didn't want him having no connection to Satan. That's where we at, Podcast Nation. That's where we at. Father Yahweh gave Adam direct orders. This is what we learn from Romans 2 and verse 15. Whenever Yahweh had wrote in the scriptures, Romans 15 and 4, please forgive me, Romans 15 and 4. Whenever we wrote in the scriptures, we wrote for our learning. It was wrote to educate us, those that have Yahweh's spirit. Because if you're not compatible to Father Yahweh, you will not live according to his ways. And that's what we see today. I'm so sorry to tell you, my neighbors, that's what we see today. That's why our president gets more praises than the Almighty, because people's minds are caught in a morbid state of dysfunction. Don't even realize no created being has more authority than the Creator himself. But the minds are caught in a state of deception. So Adam educated first, because his wife wasn't created yet. This was Adam time, one-on-one with Father Yahweh. Now look at Genesis 2 and verse 18. Yahweh said, it is not satisfactory that a man should be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. Now, this has been stretched so far out of context today, because Satan says it's not in mankind to live the way Yahweh created them. They can live the way I desire him. Now, whoever this may offend, that's your morbidness. Whoever mind may be disturbed by what I'm finna say, that's your morbidness. But as ordained minister, I must deliver the righteous news of the truth. Yahweh never created same-sex lovers. There's nowhere in the scriptures Father Yahweh ordained it same-sex lovers, male or females. We say I will create him a suitable helper that's male with female, created born female, not through no transgender surgery or no reconstructed sexual surgery or not no created clone in a closet, but I'm talking about man born, woman born. Baby boy, baby girl, teenage boy, teenage girl to adult. The same-sex relations came from what you've written to read. It's coming in Genesis chapter 3. But I wanted to show you the history that it was not from Father Yahweh. So Adam first formed it in Genesis 2:7. Eve was first formed it in Genesis 2:21. First created woman. 14 verses apart. From the created Adam to created Eve, here come woman. Yahweh caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept. He took flesh from his bone, he took his side, closed it up the flesh in its place. This is the first operation here on this earth. Now I know to those that's not compatible to Father Yahweh, this is boring, because your minds have been contaminated with morbidness, and you think the pledges of wickedness is right, and you have a heart rooming with doing wrong. So I'm talking to those that's converted, but I'm teaching the history of the law. Then the flesh and bone which Yahweh had taken from man, he made into a woman, not another man, and brought her not him, to man. Adam said, this is now bone from my bone, flesh from my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of the man. Mankind have gone way out of content with these sexual origin preferences. I guess after a while they're going to call themselves every letter of the alphabet. Father Yahweh is despising distasteful state with abomination. That's why the wrath from heaven is loose now. What man think man is doing, they don't have the understanding that is Father Yahweh. Now, let us go and understand why people's minds are caught in the catastrophic disasters that they're caught in. This is where the sin began to walk itself through history. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle and crafty than any beast of the field, nation, which Yahweh had made. And the serpent said to the woman, has Yahweh indeed said you should not eat of every tree of the garden? Now how did the serpent know that? How did the serpent know that Yahweh had said you can't eat of every tree of the garden? How did the serpent know what tree Yahweh had told Adam and Eve not to eat from? Because Satan was in the midst. The spirit of wickedness was hovering over what Yahweh was saying, and that's how Satan knew what tree that Adam was not to eat from, and that's the very tree that she gave to Eve so she could eat from it. What Yahweh himself said don't do, Satan herself told the woman you can do it. Here we go now. Here we go, the flip-flop of righteous for evil and evil for righteous. Here go the flip-flop, nation. Here we go now. This is Yahweh's will ministry. And you shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Well known in advance. Well known. Can even repeat what has been said. And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahweh said, we shall not eat it, nor shall we touch it, or we would die. Even they confessed it, that they knew what was right. As many do today. As many understand common language. As many understand the basic of understanding, knowing what is right from what's wrong. They could repeat what they was told because they understood. Yahweh didn't talk to them in a dull speech of confusion. He made it plain and clear. All right. Verses 4. The serpent said to the woman. Now, who's using the serpent? Satan. Satan is speaking to the woman through the serpent. Here we go. The introduction of wickedness. The serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die. Yahweh have lied to you. You've been lied to. Don't believe nothing he has said. Believe me. Now, you tell me this is not happening today. You tell me this is not going on today. You don't see this happening in today's time where people desire not to live decent and right, but they want to live morbid and wrong. But he knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be as gods, the Gods, knowing righteousness and evil, as the gods. Don't be deceived with lowercase g and capital G. G-O-D is G-O-D. It don't matter if it's lowercase or capital. It still means the same demonic name. Come from Satan herself. 2 Corinthians 4:4. It comes from 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4 of the gods. This is where it comes from. This is where it originated from. Read it in your King James Bible. This is where it originated from, nation. One man sinned. Outright disobeying Father Yahweh completely there in the Garden of Eden. He was just told in Genesis 2 15 through 17. Adam, of every tree in the garden you may freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil you must not eat. For the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Now understand the death that took place. Adam didn't die physically at that very moment. No, when Adam ate the forbidden fruit that his wife enticed him with from Satan's influences, Adam died spiritually disconnected from Yahweh. Adam was disconnected at that very moment from Yahweh, even though he went on to live physically, even he had children, but he was disconnected spiritually at that very moment because of influences for sin. Now, what are the influences today? Go back to Genesis 2 and verse 18. Yahweh said, it's not satisfactory that a man should be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. Yahweh created male and female. The male to fit the female. Yahweh didn't create two males or two females to be suitable helpmates. That comes from Satan, demonic, disobedient, defiling the commands of Yahweh. And as she gave Eve a pleasurable mind to do wrong and accept wrong as being right, that is what happened today when the Supreme Court of these United States, demonic nation, passed and upheld the law put in place by President Obama to honor same-sex marriage. The gates of hell were flooded in the United States. Love who you want, lay who you will, is of Satan the devil. I can't go against the scriptures. I can't go against the scriptures to please no one's flesh. I must call the book as it is. I must give the book in the correct pronunciated words as it says. I don't add to the scriptures and I don't take away from them. Yahweh has never ordained in homosexuality, lesbianism, transgender, bisexual, LBCQ or QTT or whatever else letters you are. This is all from Satan's wickedness. Child pedophiles, bestiality, incest, within your own family you find sexual pleasures, all demonic, murdering, despising each other's character, then killing each other physically, all demonic. That's why the countries throughout this global earth are shaped and formed to be the way they are, because the sins have reached into the kingdom of Yahweh. And it's now reaping time. This ain't Donald Trump. This is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump don't have a man laying with a man. Donald Trump don't have a woman laying with a woman. Donald Trump ain't got marriages going on that is improper in the eyes of Yahweh. You cannot blame Donald Trump for every sin going on in the world. This is from demonicness of people's minds that is in a morbid state, nation. Nation is from morbidness. Before you even knew there was a Donald Trump in the world, sin had captivated people in a lustful, degrading passion, all from the Garden of Eden. Men running past women to get to a man. Women running past a man to get to a woman. Because they're burning with the inner lust for desire of a morbid-minded state. And that mind is burning on fire to lay in abomination. One man's sin. One man's sin got nations turning against nations. But the scripture was already wrote before it happened. Just as Yahweh told Adam before it happened. Father Yahweh don't wait till it happens. and then say what's going to happen. He speaks in advance to warn us of what will happen. That was the teaching of Yeshua. Yachanan, John 14:29. I tell you in advance before it happens, so that when it happens, you'll believe. I see it every day. I see it every day. I dealt with this same broadcast during the radio ministry. It's a repeat of history that have not changed. Yahweh's will is speaking directly and truthfully. Well, why are the prophecies coming to pass now? Because of one man's sin. Why is all the troubles filling the earth and running rapid throughout the earth? Because of one man's sin. Here we are, nation. Here we are. Adam, Eve knew not to eat from the forbidden tree. But because their minds were captivated, Eve was from Satan through the serpent, she touched the tree. But now they don't tell you how Adam got captivated. All you hear is that the man was not deceived, but his wife being deceived. Okay, if Adam wasn't deceived, how did he obey his wife? How did Adam obey Eve so easily against Yahweh? Have the ministers really ever broke it down to you? Have they ever really broke it down to you how Eve could persuade Adam so easily? Now, you read in history that Adam knew his wife Eve. And we talked about this before. The scriptures have proven it. That knew was not just that she was created from his left rib. That knew was their sexual relations. That's how the boys were born. Cain and Abel. Because he knew his wife. Okay. His wife. They were born, created male and female. They use the word created because they weren't born of parents. Eve was born a full woman, Adam was born a full man. Neither one of them had earthly parents. Created by Father Yahweh. How did they have children just knowing each other as male and female? I'm going to walk you slow. How did Eve become Adam's wife? How did Eve become Adam's wife, and they were the only two created at that time? Were they created husband and wife? If that's the case, every man born today and every woman is born, they husband and wife to each other. If you're going to go that way. No. It was an act that took place for them to be connected as husband and wife. Go back to Genesis 2 and verse 18. And Yahweh said, it is not satisfactory that man should be alone. I will make him a helper suitable for him. Okay? Suitable for him. Remember that. I will make him a helper suitable for him. Because it's for a significant reason that I need male and female so that they may replenish the earth with people. Now, how do a man and a woman become married in the biblical? Come on, preachers. You don't tell lies about everything else. You never told the people how they became husband and wife. They didn't have marriage ceremonies in biblical time as they do in modern day time. There was no preacher standing there with a matron of honor and a best man and bridesmaids and grooms and a building full of people. They did not have those kind of marriages in biblical time. The marriages in biblical time took place when the sexual enhancement of lovemaking was performed. You was man and woman married. That's the way Yahweh married. You may fight it, you may be angry, that's your mind. That's your state of thinking. I'm giving you the facts. Adam knew his wife Eve when he touched her sexually, and the boys was then conceived. Yahweh was not standing there performing a marriage. Who was the matron honor? Who was the best man? Who were Eve bridesmaids? Who were Adam groomsmen? The marriages that Yahweh constituted was righteous, honorable, because the lawmaking represented the same symbolicness today as you saying vows. That's why Father Yahweh totally prohibited multiple lovers. A woman was not meant to have 4 or 5 lovers at the same time, because those are 4 or 5 different sperms of war inside of her body. No 2 men have the same sperm count. No 2 men have the same sperm DNA. No 2 men's sperms are compatible. So when a woman has multiple lovers and have multiple sex partners, there's a war going on within her body. But Satan says, do what you want. Live like you want. Disfigure your body. Rip your body apart. Do as much fornicating you want for money. It's only you destroying your own self. Not Yahweh's will. Right now I'm saying, I'm coming on in the house now. I'm coming on in the house. Donald Trump ain't got people out here getting money for sex. Donald Trump don't have preachers standing in the pulpit telling lies about Yahweh's word so they can find pleasure in sin. The righteous preacher standing at the pulpit is supposed to be the center focus of righteousness and have more so-called side women in the church than there are side seats. The preacher wife is supposed to be what they call the first lady of the house. Yes, she the first lady. She is the grand lady. She the grand queen, the grand whore, however else you want to acknowledge her, because many first ladies have been proven to be the first whores of the congregation. I'm coming on in now. All this is on Donald Trump. Donald Trump got people killing their neighbor. Donald Trump got people raping their neighbor. Donald Trump got people robbing their neighbor. Every sin committed gonna be blamed on Donald Trump. Stop in the mirror. Stop in the mirror. Don't walk by. Stop and look at yourself. See who you are. See what you're about. See yourself. One man said, way before Donald Trump was created, round about the year 4004 BY, we wasn't even thought of. No, our parents, grandparents, foreparents, or whoever else parents. This one man's sin was already in action. When Adam touched it, his wife, and they touched it each other flushly, he forgot Father Yahweh existed. I could go deeper with that subject, but not at this time. That's for a later day and a later time. That's a repeatment of history in itself. See it for yourself, Podcast Nation. The minister is not lying to you. The minister is not lying to you. When I hear people say they come out the closet, the first thing that my mind used to think, what was so important about getting clothes and coming out the closet? What was so big about saying you came out the closet? You know, I was going in and out of my closet every time I needed my clothes. But I come to realize that wasn't the closet they were talking about. They came out of the closet of being ashamed. They came out of the closet of not being afraid to be seen in an abominated way. They came out of the closet not being ashamed to live in a morbid style way. They came out of the closet to say evil is righteous and righteous is evil. They came out of the closet to say Satan's way is more pleasing than Father Yahweh. So that's why throughout the time of history, from the religions down to the created beings, all lies have been spreaded and spreaded. So that's where we are today in 2025, with the catastrophic disasters that's happening with nation at war with nation. The red horse. The red horse is riding the war horse, and it's only going to be more nations coming in, because as I explained to you, the nuclear bombs are on the table now. The nuclear bombs are on the table. They're shooting the ballistic missiles now, but the nukes are on the table. Yahweh is angry now with this global earth. The sands have reached it to his nostril, and he will take it no more. It's time for repercussions now. And this ain't from Donald Trump. This go all the way back to Adam, first created man from the garden. Just giving you history. Just giving you history. Just dropping the knowledge upon you. Genesis chapter 3. Let's look at verses 6. So when the woman saw the tree was desirable for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, a tree desirable to make one wise, she took the fruit and ate, gave it to her husband with her, and he ate. Now Adam knew that he was not supposed to eat. Adam knew that they had been commanded not to eat. But something happened, and he took it with pleasure. Then the eyes of both of them were open. Now notice this open. This was not an open where they were just seeing, because they weren't born blind. How can Adam tend to a garden if he was born blind? No, this is not the opening that you would think in the physical. This is the opening to the evil of the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil. This is the opening to the evil is coming out. Okay? Their eyes both were then open, and they realized that they had sinned. Evil. And that they had violated Yahweh's laws. Evil. Because they had not kept Yahweh's laws, they was afraid. Why is people not afraid today? Why is a woman standing with another woman talking about this my husband? How can two women be married? How can two men be married? How can one man tell another man, you my husband and I'm your wife, and we have the same cosmetic makeup as males? I'm just asking questions, Podcast Nation. Tell me, how is that possible? How can two men be married to each other honorably in the eyes of Yahweh, and two women be married to each other honorably in the eyes of Yahweh, and you're both created the same for a gender? And not afraid to be ashamed. Not afraid. And then you want to bring children into this mess. Then you want to say you got a right to go out and have children. As if your life's not screwed up enough, you want to then go and dysfunction the child. This is your daddy. This is your mama. And the child looking at two men and two women. But you don't see nothing wrong with it. That's the only thing that Adam and Eve had against this generation throughout history. They was afraid. People throughout history wasn't afraid. Raping of the children, destroying their lives, their bodies, pedophiles, males and females. As if doing enough sin with human beings is not enough, you got to go and lay with the beasts of the field. You got to go into the animal kingdom, bestiality. Then, as if there's not enough sin outside the house, you got to bring this sin inside the house with incest. Parents and their children, siblings and each other. Can't get out the house, so you're inside the house. And you want to blame Donald Trump for all of this? Come on, nation. Come on, people, let's get it together now. Eyes of Yahweh is in every place for the generation of the world than seeing the evil and the wickedness that's going on. Our minister good don't come to deceive you. I just give you the scriptures as they are and is. I'm not a minister to deceive. I give you what the book says. My fear is in Yahweh if I don't obey him, not man for hating me. That's beautiful. That's pleasant. It's Father Yahweh who I fear. So when they both became afraid, because why? They realized they had violated the commands that Yahweh gave from Genesis 2:16 and 17. Adam knew he had violated. Eve knew she had violated. Because when that mind came open, wickedness took center stage. Now, let's read a little further, okay? Then in the day that they heard the way of Father Yahweh according to the word of Yahweh, being proclaimed in the garden, Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh among the trees of the garden. Why did they hide themselves? Why did they hide themselves among the trees in the garden? Okay? Why did they hide themselves? Then Yahweh called Adam and said to him, "Where are you?" So Adam said, "I heard the words of Yahweh being proclaimed in the garden, and I was afraid because I had sinned it, and I hid myself." Yahweh said to Adam, "Someone deceived you so that you will sin. You have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you that you should not eat." Then the man said, "The woman whom you gave to me, she gave me of the tree to eat." And the woman said, "What is it that you have done?" Yahweh said to the woman, and the woman said, "The serpent deceived me. Here we go with this made about lie." Everybody blaming somebody. This is how Donald Trump get caught up in this. Everybody gonna blame somebody instead of holding themselves accountable. Yahweh asked Adam a question. Adam blamed Eve. Eve blamed the serpent. Never holding themselves accountable. Don't you see this in today's time, nation? Don't you see people will not hold themselves accountable? They want to blame everybody else for their sins instead of standing straight up and saying, "It is I who have sinned it." No! Somebody else must be blamed. Yahweh will ministry. One man sinned. One man sinned. So Yahweh said to the serpent, "Cause you have done this, and you are bitterly cursed. I establish you over all living things, and I establish you over all flesh in the ground. But your ability to bring forth life from dust will be taken away. You will go to your punishment, and you will be destroyed on that day by Yahweh who lives forever." Yahweh then went down and began to break down the curses to his wife. They hid themselves because they don't want the creator of heaven to see them naked. They didn't want Yahweh to see them without clothes. And they were created in skin that were their clothes. Now, Podcast Nation, I'm going to bring it to you. Once again, however you want to receive it is your business. Yahweh didn't create us to wear clothes, and he didn't create us to eat meat. He created us to be vegetarians, and he created us with our outer skin as our clothes. We did not know we were naked and had to wear clothes till Adam and Eve sinned it against his commands. I lie not to you. I lie not to you. If only Adam had stood strong and faithful and walked it as a righteous man before Father Yahweh, we would never ever have had to go and buy clothes and shoes and all of that, because our outer skin was our clothes. But now here go the main part to that. you would have never knew you was naked, because evil would not have been on the earth, and you would not have seen your neighbor in a naked form to lust after, because there would not be no lust on the earth, because the breaking of Yahweh laws never would have existed. So we would have coexist as male and female, loving each other, being totally compatible to each other, the way Father Yahweh commands, and never ever would have seen each other naked in a lustful way. There would have been no prostitution on the earth. There would have been no fornication on the earth. There would have been no homosexuality on the earth. There would have been no lesbianism on the earth. There would have been no child pedophiles on the earth. There would have been no bestiality on the earth. There would have been no prejudice on the earth. There would have been no law enforcement on the earth. There would have been no murdering of hating each other on the earth. We would have lived in peace and harmony and the sweetness of the dew, because we all would have had the mind of righteousness and lived it, because Satan would not have had influences. She only gained influences through Eve to Adam. She only gained influences by using Eve to hook Adam. Podcast Nation, I keep it 100. We will do a part 2. We will continue to walk with this broadcast. We will continue to do a part 2. We're going down to the history of it, bringing it up from the history. We're going down to the history, bringing it up to show where we are. We will do a part 2, one man's sin. I do hope the word is enjoyable to you. I do hope you're receiving the knowledge and understanding of what Father Yahweh is saying, but I do understand with as many lying religions that have deceived the people and influenced them wickedly, I do realize many people do not receive the word with open mind. They don't receive it with a willing mind. I understand all of this, but this is the way Father Yahweh said that he now give it to those whom he chooses, to whom he convert. But as a righteous minister, I will teach it the way it is, because I will not forfeit my rights to the kingdom of Yahweh to tell you and teach you lies, but I will give you the facts of the scriptures. I thank you for tuning in to the broadcast. Do hope it's been of an encouragement to your mind. You may correspond with me, Minister Derek Gooden, Post Office Box 150027, Atlanta, Georgia 30315.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast. I do hope the message was inspiring to you, and I do hope that Yahweh will continue to be with you and bless your understanding until the next broadcast of Yahweh's Will with Minister Derek Gooden.